10th episode of Hornet Nation Unfiltered. Hard to believe we started this thing over 2 months ago, and we've had former student athletes from just about every sport on the Alabama State campus, current coaches, former student athletes. Today, we are honored to have our first baseball guest on, and we're going to go a little different than we have in the past. We're going to have the current head coach, Jose Vazquez, and we'll be joined by former Alabama State Hornet, Ray Hernandez. Guys, thanks for taking time out of your day to join us today, and great to have you on the show. So when we talk baseball,
thank you guys, man.
And when we talk baseball, and Ray, I'm just going to go ahead and cut to the chase, and let's go ahead and get these two things out of the way because these two may take the longest to talk about. We're going backwards order. Let's talk about the shot heard around the world at the SWAC tournament. The ball that we still don't think's landed that you hit out to the cages and left against Grambling. Just talk about that.
Grambling, okay.
Yeah, was it Grambling or was it somebody else?
I think it was Prairie View.
Was it Prairie View? It's hard to remember which one you hit because you did hit one against Grambling. So we'll talk about that one too. Grambling, yeah. Let's talk about the one with Prairie View first that you absolutely just crushed to left.
So I'll tell you the honest to God's truth. There's a few teams in the SWAC that I respect and that I care about what they think about me and them. Prairie View is not one of them. Every single time that we played against Prairie View, they gave us some kind of garbage, they always talk crap. If it wasn't to me, it was to Vasquez. It was always an issue with them. And the craziest thing is we always put it on them every single time. I don't remember them ever beating us. But in this tournament, they were actually ahead. I remember they were ahead 2-0. They hit a home run, I think, in the first inning, and they were feeling it. So they were letting us have it, chirping at us. Their fans were doing the same thing because they'd never beaten us. And I remember thinking, man, we really got to get this done. So it was 2-0. I won't forget it, especially not me, because I could tell you the count and everything because obviously that was, baseball player. The players always remember every little detail. So it was 2-0. We had, I remember runner on first or second. I don't remember who. I think it was Yamil. No, matter of fact, now that I think about it, I think it was Gustavo, but it doesn't really matter. Guy on first or second, and I went up to the plate, and that senior year I had a really good year because I wasn't trying to hit a home run every at bat like in prior years. I was just trying to honestly help the team win and just keep my average up. I had a high average. So I just wanted to continue to have a high average, so take my walks and then get hits if they made mistakes for me. But obviously, tournament time. My average is one thing, but I also don't want to lose. I want to win. I'm a winner. So I remember thinking to myself, let's hit one in the gap and at least score a run, right? So just hit one to either gap. He throws me like a curveball in the dirt or some crap like that. I'm like, give me the good one. So I knew, okay, he's probably going to float one in there. And he did right over the plate. So we hit it deep, really deep. And you're right. That was off the cages. That was one of the – I know for sure – that's one of the hardest or farthest balls hit in tournament history. I don't care what anybody has to say. That was a ball. I got a hold of that one. So it was deep. So I had to let him have it. We stood there for a little bit and I usually do. So my rule is when you round the bases on a home run, it's usually 30 seconds, usually, right? That's how it goes. But in this occasion, I remember that was easy 35, 40 seconds. And I remember, and I have the video, and we can send it to you, and you can maybe put it with this podcast. Like, as I'm saying it, put the video up. But while I'm running the bases, I remember I passed second. They're all like, saying things that we can't talk about in the podcast, but just letting me have it. And by the time I hit third, the umpire's like, Vasquez, come over here, Jose. And Jose's walking, and I'm just kind of like go around them. I have the video. I have to walk around the umpire and the head coach so I can slam on home plate. But that was a nice one. That's not I've hit so many other home runs that mean more to me at ASU, but that was a great one. I'll never forget that one.
Before we talk to the next one, since you led into it, Coach, talk about that and not just that instance, but in that tournament, every game we were in that third base coach's box. Well, Ray just happens to be playing third. And so he's yelling across, and he's getting into it with the other teams at first because they're chirping at him. So he's chirping back. Talk about that moment, and then just talk about just trying to contain Ray's passion during that.
Going on. To contain Ray's passion is you can't do that. But that's what made him and still makes him a great player and somebody that was able to accomplish what he accomplished because he's the guy that loves to play when things are on the line, and always happened as we were preparing for our season. You put things on the line, and he always come through. I mean, the rate of him really just getting it done when things were on the line were very high. That's the guy that you want at the plate. So when you go to the tournament, it's really a different beast. You got to let your guys play. You know, we're not going to disrespect anybody. We're going to go in there and play our game. But at the same time, and I'm not, knocking on anybody, but it's just a different atmosphere. You know, the fans in that setting they're very close to you. They really feel that they can say whatever, and it's very hard to just, you want to tone everybody down, but it's almost impossible to do because everybody's right on top of you. So it comes to a time that when we get to the tournament, we talked about it, we prepare for not only what we're going to do physically, but how prepared we need it to be. And we need to be every year mentally to go in there and be able to really battle the elements. So one of the guys that I never really had to worry about was Ray, because he fed off of that. And it's almost that, not that you wanted other teams to take that approach with him, but, he knew how to basically stay in the moment, and he always knew how to come through in situations like that. So, I mean, I let him play. Obviously, I made sure that he understood that that the goal was not just to make it, about an individual performance. It was about winning the game. But I think one of the things, like I said, Ray was very mature, very unique from day one, very mature. He was, when he got to us at 18 years old, it was one of the toughest things, not toughest things to coach, but it's to understand, because he didn't come in as a typical freshman that you have to go through the ups and downs of them making certain mistakes because they're immature. He came in with a clear goal. He was a great student his 4 years with us. He was a very good player. He went through ups and downs just like everybody as far as the season and learning experience. But as far as what he wanted to do and doing things the right way, always going to class, getting good grades, being early at the field, working extra, there's no complaints in there. But he was very mature and very proud of the work that he put in, and he wanted everybody to see how hard he worked. So when he got to the tournament, he was definitely the guy to just let loose and say, you know what, take over. And he did. And to this day, even though he had a great regular season, in my opinion, on his senior year, the work that he did in the tournament, to me, and I think that he would agree with this, is what got him an opportunity to play and to get drafted at the next level.
And
no doubt,
touch on Ray, to touch on what Coach said about how close the fans are to the field. It just seems like you talk about the respect for the other teams, and there was mutual respect, and it's hard to say that, but I think that the ground was laid, and there's mutual respect between Alabama State and Grambling when it comes to the tournament, because either way, no matter what happens, both teams are going to put it on the line. Mm-hmm. But you in particular, that last year of the tournament, you fed off of the Grambling fans more than anybody did the entire time. Yeah. And, they would give it to you. And then let's talk about that one, the one, I mean, it was a blast that you hit against Grambling, and they actually, they were giving you crap going around first, but when you touched home, they actually gave you the respect that was mutual. Talk about just that, and just talk about that rivalry with Grambling a little bit.
I'll tell you, Grambling is weird because, to be completely honest, as a school, I don't know anything about any other school. I can only talk about Alabama State. So as a student body, honestly, as a team goes, I know a lot about Grambling now because of all the friends that I made after the fact, just from guys I met from there. But there's some schools so because I play third base, I meet and I talk with every single coach. You know me very well. I talk a lot. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut. Sometimes, that's a negative deal. But I meet every single one of these coaches, and because we play them so much, I do have a relationship with them. And James, the coach at Grambling, it's not that we were buddies, but he never said anything. Even when I was at like my worst, like when I'm doing, antics and, this and that, he never disrespected me. He might be like, come on, Ray, but he would never cross it, where some of these coaches would cross the line, which would fuel me, which would really make me go, all right. And then, go after it. But that last tournament, it's honestly like a combination of a lot of things. It has to do with it being my last year. And, Vazquez has given me a little bit more credit than I'm worth, because when I got to Alabama State, I was a decent player, but I learned everything that I know about baseball, and honestly a lot about being a man and dealing with people at Alabama State, dealing with Vazquez, dealing with our old coach, dealing with Drew. These are the people who helped shape me into what I am today. And he's right. It wasn't always smooth sailing. There was a time, I remember early my senior year, where we had a really rough, it was like almost every single day I felt like I was making Vazquez mad, and he'd probably feel the same way with me. But we worked through these things in a whole entire season. And that's why by the time we start playing Grambling and the rest of these teams, this is no longer it's hard to explain it, but it's not just like we're out here to win games. Of course we're out here to win games. That's the whole point. But there's more to it. It's more of like, now I'm representing Vazquez. I'm representing, his daughters, his wife, because it's just different. It's just a different atmosphere in the tournament. And these Grambling fans were letting me have it. I remember, and I say this, and people were like, no, he didn't. But I was getting batteries thrown at me in the tournament, little AAA batteries. I remember getting hit with batteries, and people, no way. Yes way. I remember that. We had to stop the game and everything. So, honestly, if in baseball, it's so hit or miss that could have been, let's say another weekend we play that tournament and the fans let me have it, but I'm hitting line outs to people. I'm lining out instead of getting home runs, doubles, and singles. I'm not stealing every single base. I'm getting thrown out. It doesn't look as cool. It doesn't make sense, but you take those risks. These fans are letting me have it. I very rarely spoke to the other team though. Like, because these teams knew, because they were, if you won't have some guy who's never played in Grambling for 4 years on the bench yelling something at me when I've got records all up and down the SWAC. It's always the fans, and you usually don't say anything to the fans either. But in this occasion, I was just so hot and I was feeling it. So I would get a base hit and I would turn around and like, now what? Go ahead and throw batteries at me now if you want. I'm already on base. And they would, say this and that, like, well, now I'm going to steal second. And the first baseman and the pitcher and the catcher would be like, what? Yeah, I'm stealing second right now. Maybe not this pitch, but I'm going to take it right now. And I'm like 240 right now, but at that time I was like 245. So this was just a will to win. And to be completely honest, I just wish that, looking back, I just wish that all 9 of us had that same will, because we've done it before. And that's the same way Southern won, I think it was last year or whatever. That's just that will to win is how you win in the tournament. It has nothing to do with pitching, hitting. All that stuff goes out of the window. These fans are on top of you. How are you going to, react when you strike out? Because you will get out. Because that tournament, I probably still struck out. And when I struck out, the fans, yeah, you suck or whatever. That's no problem, because I had another at bat. So the players that have the strong will, those are the guys that get the job done. And I miss playing in college. Obviously, playing professionally is not the same at all. But those tournaments, it was just different. It's just so different. It's hard to explain it. Besides saying that, it's just a different animal. You go there with every single team, the first seed, or let's say Mississippi Valley, who's usually a 4th seed. Everybody goes there with the same exact mentality, and they're all trying to just survive, win this game, and then we take on the next one. And we had a good squad. I just wish we would have had a little bit more like anger and aggression, but it's like that. And the teams that win always deserve to win it. It's never like, oh, well, they love. No. If you win the tournament, it's because you earned it, because you had to, be dogs or whatever you had to do, but you had to win it.
You bring up two key words, and we'll let you talk first, and then we'll let Coach Vazquez talk about it as well. But you talk about anger and aggression. There's one team in particular that and we're going to throw Alabama A&M out the window. We won't even talk about them being a team that that you most look forward to playing against in your own division. You play against Jackson State 6 times a year. Yeah. And each game is a dogfight. It doesn't matter where it is, what day it is, what time it is. But if there's one memory and that all three of us can take away was that walk-off that you had at home.
Oh, man, that was amazing.
And the ball that went, and, you really don't see a lot of balls to that side of the scoreboard.
Right.
Talk about that game, that at bat, and just the Jackson State season, and then we'll let Coach talk about it as well.
So I started off by telling you there's teams that I respect and teams that I don't. No matter how much crap I want to say, I don't remember a game. We always end. I mean, there's plenty of times where we beat the heck out of them, and they beat the heck out of us. But there was never a time we played against Jackson State where we weren't on it. Like if you weren't on it, you basically that day you were going 0 for 4 and you lost because. And I know no matter how much they might not want to admit it because they're not really our rivals, so to speak. Yeah, they circled that. And Omar, the coach over there, he circled that. He probably took because right now I'm playing for the Washington Wild Things, and I play with a guy who used to go to Jackson State. He was there for 1 year and he left. And he told me, listen, you don't know how many times the coach used to be like, Hernandez, don't let him hit him, do whatever it takes. He can. So I know when they saw Alabama State, they circled it. That didn't mean nothing because we still put it on them almost every single time, but those games were so intense, and those were by far. We played against Auburn a couple of times. We went to a regional. I didn't feel real pressure. I mean, baseball, sports is not pressure. Pressure is, real life situations, paying your bills. That's real pressure. But the closest you can get to pressure like that is those Jackson State series. Because it used to be a situation where we'd be, let's say, we win a game 20-0, 16-0. But on Sunday, that didn't matter. They were on it that day, and if you were on it, they would put it on you 16-0, and they let you have it. And those teams, and if we're talking about talent, not including like Texas Southern because we barely played them, we only played them like twice in the championships. But Jackson State had talent. They might not have had the best, let's say, baseball players, but they definitely had athletes, and they had a system that they actually used and that they could execute. And those games were shocking. That walk-off was honestly, like I said, senior year, I was on another level. Like I was just in a really, really good place mentally, physically. And this guy, I don't even remember his name anymore, but he had a reliever or whatever who threw sidearm, and he was good. And he got a lot of guys out. And I remember my junior year, the year that I had my worst year at Alabama State, he got me out a lot. And he won, I think he won reliever of the year a couple of times. I don't really know, but I remember specifically thinking this guy likes to float one in there for strike one. So if he throws me that, we're going home. And he did. He threw it literally right down the middle, right where I like it. And we got a hold of that one. And I was just blessed to be in that situation. So my turn to hit, I think it was the 10th or 9th. I don't really remember what inning it was, but I was leading off, and I thought this guy's going to be feeling comfortable just to float one in there. Then he wants to battle with me. But before you even get to the battle, he's going to have to make a good pitch, and he threw it right down the middle. And that's one of those few times that I was telling you about where I was trying to go yard. This isn't like, I'm trying to end this right now so we can go home. And we swept them because of that. And we won the Eastern Division because of that right there, because they played us close. And that was easy top 10 moments. Because I remember I hurt myself. I don't know if I told Vazquez knows and Drew knows. I told him, but that series, I was hitting so well that so on Friday night I didn't stretch. For some reason I forgot. We were out there, but I wasn't really stretching. And I had like a 4 for 4 game. I was like, well, that means that tomorrow I'm not stretching. Simple as that. And we went to Waffle House with Santiago Garcia the night before. I said, well, we got to go to this Waffle House and not stretch for the rest of the series. And that's what we did. So by Sunday, I'm full of waffles and I used to eat those chocolate chip waffles are horrible for you. So I'm full of waffles and I haven't stretched. And when I smoked that last one, I was so excited. And I was screaming, I don't know if Vazquez remembers it. He was like, hey, chill out. I'm like, get the F off the field. Get off the, screaming at them while I'm running on the bases. Get off the field. I remember I stepped on third base after high-fived Vazquez, and I jumped. I remember thinking, holy crap, I really just messed my knee up. And I'm like, but I was just so much emotion and so much adrenaline that when everybody's mobbing me and stuff, I remember thinking, no, I'll be all right. Like 10 minutes later, I was aching. And luckily it was a Sunday game, so we were good for a couple of days. But that was easy top 10 moments for me in college. Easy.
Coach, when you go back and you remember that moment, I mean, that's got to be one of the most satisfying handshakes coming around third, especially against Jackson State. But I think we know now why Ray was 245. He was going to Waffle House that entire weekend.
Boom. You figured it out.
Well, I think, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Every time that we play Jackson State, I can't just tell you how Omar Johnson, the head coach, does an outstanding job, and they put a great team together every year. So kind of like what Ray was saying, as far as being the rival school, they are not, but they are. They were always, in the last few years, I would say 5-6 years, we were battling for either one or two when it comes to the Eastern Division. He does an outstanding job. They like Ray said, they have a system. They stick to it. They're very good athletes. They compete, and they come to our place. And when we go there, they know that we're gonna, that we have a good team, and there's gonna be a battle for 3 consecutive days. So the respect that we have for them, and I know the respect that they have for us, is what really sets the tone for the whole series. So you have to be on point. If I'm not mistaken, that year we did play, including that series, I think the first 2 games were 1-run ball games. Mm-hmm. And then we ended up, it was a crazy game, and I think it was a lot of runs on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, that ended up with the walk-off from Ray.
Yes, 10-9.
But you go back to once again that you want your best players to be up in those moments, and it was time for him to, as a senior, once again, you've been through it before. One of the best relievers, not only in the SWAC, but I remember the last name was Tirado, Jose Tirado.
Tirado, that's right.
One of the best relievers in the nation.
No, that's right.
He pitched every day. I mean, if you look at it, he was pitching every day. Whenever the game was close, he was coming in. He was saving games, midweek games for them. He was competing. A lot of respect for that kid. I remember.
No, he was
but I knew, we studied him, and I know Drew had a meeting with Ray prior to it, and they both agreed. It's like, hey, this is how he pitches. So he was definitely able to take advantage of that hanging breakable. I remember, obviously, once he hit it, I knew we were going home. It was a perfect scenario for us because he was leading off the inning. So basically, they didn't want to walk him, and us being the home team. At that point, then you really want to attack him and try to get him out. But, he was sitting on that pitch, and I know he hit that pitch really, really good. But, I look forward to, even to this day, look forward to playing, like I said, Jackson. Every time that we play them, there's something on the line. Whether it's maybe towards the end of the season when we play them, maybe a division championship game. Something is going to happen that we're going to have to play for something every weekend that we and they do a great job, man. They still doing it. They were having another good year this past year, and we were looking forward to playing them because we know, like I said, the caliber and the schedule that they play every year and the job that they do. So it's definitely a team that we look forward to having a great series. And it's good baseball. And we were able to win that year. And like Ray said, I think we won the division because of winning that game. So it came down to that.
Let's switch it a little bit, and Ray, I'm gonna set it up this way. We're gonna talk about your numbers in a minute because you're gonna go down as one of the best players at Alabama State in baseball history when you look at numbers. But when you play for somebody like a Coach Vazquez, he's a player's coach. He lets you get away. He lets you play. He lets you do things. But if you're late, if you don't do things the right way, he takes care of it in a certain way.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit because I think there was a trip in Huntsville that kind of comes to mind.
So I remember that. You just reminded me. I totally forgot about that. So I remember this is one of those times that, like I was saying, and this was senior year or junior year?
I think it's senior year.
I think it was senior.
Think it was senior year? I don't. Okay. Anyway, I just remember that senior year started off slow, and I remember this specifically. Of course, how am I gonna forget? I totally didn't think about that until right now. But basically, how this situation went was the bus was supposed to leave at some time. I don't remember what time it was, but this is honestly, and I told you already, but this was my fault. This is automatically pushing the blame to my roommate. So me and Yamil, obviously Yamil Pagan, that was my roommate. We had such a good, we knew each other so well that we always used like I say, for example, if we were going somewhere, I used the bathroom from this time to this time, and then you use it from this time to this time. But on that day, I don't know what happened, but he decided it was his turn. I said, all right, well, fine. But that threw us off. and we were late. So late that Vazquez was probably told the bus driver, "Hey, see ya." They got to find a way, and they left us. They left us at the hotel, and I remember, thankfully, one of the dads drove to Huntsville with us, and his son was like, "Hey, can you go pick up?" So we got a ride there, and we made it before the bus, but I remember that easy, and that was a stressful day. I remember, and honestly, and listen, this is how life works and how baseball works. Because I was left, we ended up losing that game, right, Vazquez? And that type of stuff, and we lost this. I don't think we lost the series. Well, maybe we might have. I don't really remember. But a team like A&M, they need every kind of little help they can get. And because of me, captain of the team, senior, another senior, Yamil, coming late and not making it to the bus on time, when we get to the field, the mood has changed. So now Vazquez is upset. If the players are supposed to, these two are supposed to be in the lineup, Vazquez is thinking about, well, you know what? We might as well take them out too. But we have to win. So now, reluctantly, I have to play. And all that makes the mood down. It makes the mood down. And we lost that game. And I got thrown out of that game, if I remember correctly, arguing with the umpire. And then Santi had to take the L because he came in and struck out for me. I already had – it was 0-2 count. But that type of – that's the good thing about Vazquez was as a head coach, I'll be honest, as an assistant coach, as a head coach, he was different, obviously, because that's how it works. You change. He has to change. But as a head coach, he was definitely a player's coach, and he gave us every single opportunity to one thing that I'm grateful for, and me and Vazquez speak all the time, but one thing that I can say now when we're talking about this on this podcast, one thing that I was grateful for with Vazquez was I always had a chance to redeem myself. There was plenty of times in 4 years is a long time, where I made mistakes, but I had the opportunity in the future, maybe not in that moment because he's upset, still had a chance later to redeem myself. For example, like that A&M series, we had a huge talk about, Ray, you have to take responsibility for your actions and you're supposed to be a leader. And, what kind of things are you teaching the young guys, which I already knew, which that's what he talks about when he's saying that I'm mature. It was never like, he was like, Ray, what are you doing? I'm like, what? No, whenever I was in trouble, I knew for sure why. I knew the issue, what it was. They didn't have to tell me, but we had really good communication. Even when we were, upset with each other and arguing, the communication was always there. It was never, I wonder what he's thinking. It was always laid out on the table, which some players don't like that and some players can't handle it. But as a coach, like I said before, there's not very many coaches that I can't stand this guy, but Vazquez helped me, because if it wasn't for what I learned when I was with him, and we can talk about it, Melendez, the coach that was before Vazquez, I learned things with him, but I didn't learn everything. A lot of things I had to learn when I struggled, because Melendez wasn't there when I struggled my junior year. My junior year, when I had the worst year of my life, honestly, not even just baseball-wise, Vazquez was the coach. And we talked about it, and we said, and he tried every single avenue we could so I could succeed. Not only him, Drew and Matt. They did everything they could. So as a coach, I have nothing that I can complain about. Helped me every opportunity I could, so I can play professional baseball too every single time. Even when I was struggling, he only spoke well about me to these, to the scouts and to the teams and to everybody. So I have nothing to complain about. He was a great coach, and he's my friend, and he'll be my friend until I'm dead. So he was like I said, it was a great coach for any kind of player. Depending on what your mindset was. If you have a weak will and you don't really want to work, then ASU is not the place for you, and Vazquez isn't the coach for you. So I had nothing to complain about. I remember but they left me. They left me, and that's, like you said, one of the best players in the history of Alabama State was left in the hotel. And if I wouldn't have got a ride, the show would go without me. So that's just the kind of program they have, where I'm certain at other programs they would have been like, no, wait, because we need him to be here. Nah. Not Alabama State. You got to earn your keep, and you have to take responsibility for your actions.
Coach, before you go, let's get this story completely done. We sat on the bus. This was one of the few trips you actually left a couple minutes late, because I'm sitting 2 feet behind you, and you're looking at your watch, and you're like, okay, let's just say 11:30. It's 11:30. You look at your watch, look back at the hotel, look down at your watch again, look back at the hotel. 2 minutes later, all right, let's go. And we start pulling around the corner, and we get up to the stop sign, and lo and behold, guess who walks out the front door of the hotel? And you're like, they can find a ride.
Right.
They want to play, they'll find their way. And so that weekend is a weekend that, I'm in the dugout. This is not the weekend that I'm usually up in the stands broadcasting. I'm in the dugout this series. And that was the game you got thrown out. That's the weekend we had a couple of players thrown out. So the whole
well too,
basically is a wash. if you want to think about anything you want to forget.
Honestly.
Out my mistake. But, Coach, let's talk about that day.
Well, every team that is set to accomplish something throughout the year goes through whether it gets out or does not get out. Everything goes through their ups and downs and situations that actually turn their season around. And I do remember we did lose the series. I remember that. We lost 2 out of 3. We were frustrated. I remember getting phone calls. I remember people questioning, what happened, because we were the favorite to win that series. And everything just basically went wrong. And like Ray was saying, there's some things that happen throughout the year that set the tone. And if we allow them to just stay the same, then you're really trending down, really, if you don't take care of those situations. So we took care of the situation, and obviously I did stay and waited for a little longer because there wasn't any history of him being late. That's one thing that I can tell you about Ray, is that he was never late. If anything, he was always early. He was that guy. Like I said, this is a guy. And when I said that he's mature, he was getting up as a freshman at 6, 7 in the morning every day. Like, he's that guy that will text you at that time. And a lot of freshmen and guys in general, have time getting up to go to the early classes, and you have to check on them constantly. And sometimes if we need to wake them up, But we never had that problem with him. He was always on time, always responsible. But then again, you have to, as a head coach, and I know it's a lesson, but you have to remember we do have to, we're in charge of another 35 guys, and sometimes you just have to make decisions like that to let everybody know, you're not exempt from being responsible and making those type of mistakes. You're going to have to pay for them. But I think because of that, and I don't know if you can check on the record after that, but I think after that weekend, I think we went on a run, if I'm not mistaken. We lost 2 out of 3, and we really came back and we addressed the situation, and we played better baseball to the point that we ended up winning the division, to the point that, we ended up losing in the semifinal game in a crazy situation where we played. Remember that we ended up playing
3 games in 24 hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
3 games in one day, which has obviously I never seen it when it comes to baseball. So, but the situation like that turn our season around. Once again, it just sometimes you have to not make an example, but you have to put your foot down. Once again, it was easy to be a player's coach. One thing that I pride myself, and Ray can tell you this, is that I like to feel and know that I'm a very good communicator. So I'm going to explain things the right way. I'm going to give you everything that I expect to the T. So when people basically mess up, or when people don't do what is expected out of them, sometimes we don't even have to have an argument. They know what the punishment, I guess, will be, and things like that. But I communicate, along with my staff, and the guys know what I expect, and accountability is big, for me. Because, as you know, we love baseball. It's part of our life. It's the way that I feed my family and our coaches. But at the end of the day, it's teaching these guys, man. It's teaching these guys how to understand what life is all about. And right now, I do feel we're doing a good job with that. So our guys are learning how to just be good people, and be accountable and be responsible. And sometimes it takes people like Ray, when you leave school and when you get out and when you're done playing college baseball, and you start understanding why we did certain things, why we made some decisions, why we had those conversations, because it's just part of life. Not everybody matures at the same time. Not everybody is ready to move on to the real life, as we call it, to, get out there and maybe become a dad. And like he said earlier, start paying bills and getting to a job on time. And even that he's playing professional baseball, he can tell you, when he was in the Braves organization, what is expected out of him. And even what he's doing right now, there's there's a level of expectation, that you need to be held accountable for everything that you do. But that's one thing that he will never have a problem. He might strike out here and there. He might make a mistake here or there, but I can guarantee you that he'll never be late. I can guarantee you that he'll never disrespect anybody. And that's the reason why he's going to continue to succeed in life. So that's the beauty of Ray. And like I said, his maturity was there from day one. Then again, at times made some mistakes, but I think as a human being, that's just something that his parents should be very proud of him and everything that he's accomplished. And I know I am, because it wasn't always, like I said, a fairy tale really story with him. There were some times that we disagreed, but we always communicated. That's one thing that we always did.
When we talk about numbers, let's talk. When we look at the numbers, let's just say the numbers I'm going to call out, your top 10, Ray, and the numbers I call out. If you're inside or leading, I'll let you know. Like slugging percentage, tops at the school in school history at 517. Your stolen base percentage, minimum 10 attempts, 82.1%, 195 games played. That's third. Obviously, Yamil passed you with that extra year that he came back and played. Right, you were third in games started, third in most at-bats, third in most runs scored, 223 hits, second all-time. You lead the school in doubles at 46, home runs 35. The list goes on and on. Just talk about, I know you're not a numbers guy, but just talk about what you got out of that in your career.
I could tell you that, every year you learn something. And to be completely honest, I'll probably, no matter what happens with me in my baseball career, if I become, a major leaguer, if I don't, I'll probably end up being a coach at some kind of Division I school, just because of how I speak English and Spanish, because of my degree, because of what I learned at Alabama State. And these numbers mean, obviously, the world to me, because that's my resume, right? That plus what I've done in professional baseball is my resume. So I'm blessed because Alabama State at one point was everything to me, because it was my life, So I'm proud of myself and for the people that helped me reach these goals and these numbers, because that just is like the fruits of my labor. Like I played 4 years and I have these numbers to speak of, and these numbers are meant to be broken. So somebody along the line will break all those numbers and it'll be nice. The same way I broke somebody else's numbers. So it's just there's a lot of ones that I love. Obviously, the stolen bases is huge for me because I've always been a good base stealer. It just took me some time to decide I wanted to do that. I'm not a big numbers guy because of the fact that I don't want my numbers to be what defines me. I want what my coaches and my teammates and people that watch me play speak about me. I want that to be what defines me. So obviously the numbers are great because that's what you try to do. Obviously I want to go 4 for 4 every single game. I want to hit a home run here and there. I want to steal bases. I want to help the team win. So they mean everything to me. It is what it is. These numbers are how you get paid. If I didn't have these numbers, I wouldn't have gotten drafted by the Braves. I wouldn't have the same reputation that I have. And like I said, it's the fruits of my labor. Like I said, my senior year was a very special year, not only for me, but if we talk about Alabama State sports, that's got to be up there. And obviously I'm kind of tooting my own horn, but it's as simple as that. We're talking about numbers. I got to be in there. So that makes me feel good, obviously, because it's the type of player that I was and the type of player that I am now. I'm trying to replicate that senior year now in professional baseball. It's a little bit more difficult, obviously, because we all get paid and we've all been – so the same way I was big dog at ASU, there's been big dogs all over the world are now playing together. So it's a little more difficult, but that's what I'm trying to replicate. And like I said, these numbers I don't want to be a numbers guy because you don't really want to be that type of player, but they obviously mean the world to me.
You talk about your senior year, Ray, and you talk about the things you accomplished, how you overcame your struggles in your junior year. You graduate, you get drafted. The unfortunate circumstances, obviously, of COVID-19 have drastically changed the way professional baseball is this year. But just talk about the transition in your senior year into that year being drafted and going into this year with all the uncertainties. Yeah,
so honestly, I was on a high like crazy, especially after I graduated from college. That took a lot of stress off of me because then I got to play that SWAC tournament kind of without any kind of fear of well, if I don't get drafted, I remember thinking at one point, if I don't get drafted, I'm a failure. So, and I remember after my junior year, that's what I felt. So after my senior year, when I had all those numbers and I did as good as I did, I felt obviously like a crazy amount of accomplishment and like achievement after I got drafted. And my first year, honestly, I was doing, baseball players that hear this, or even softball players that hear this, will understand what I'm talking about. I did so well my senior year that literally carried over into professional baseball, because my first year with the Braves was a really good year. We can look those numbers up too. I had a really good year in my rookie year with the Braves. So then that time off, being disappointed, not getting promoted the way I wanted to, not being able to play third base and do the things that I wanted to with the Braves, they didn't want me to be Ray Hernandez, right? Which is something that happens in college. For example, Vazquez did everything he could so I could be me. So he let me, talk to the fans and talk crap. If I ever got, out of hand, he would just like put his hand on me like, hey, easy. And I would know. Where in the Braves, that's not the case. The Braves, it's not, I'm saying the Braves because that's the team that I played for, but in professional baseball, affiliated baseball, it's not about getting Ray Hernandez and making him into a good player. It's more of, can Ray Hernandez be the next, let's say, Chipper Jones or whatever, somebody who's already established. So some guys flourish in that role because they kind of have they don't have to create anything. They're just trying to fit a mold. Where guys like me, that doesn't work. I want to be myself. I want to be the first Ray Hernandez, not the next so-and-so. So it just didn't work out. And with COVID, it just was tough. They were getting rid of guys. And because I had that great first year, but then that iffy second year, it was an easy decision for them. And I'm not upset about it. Like, to be completely honest, I was never even supposed to make it as far as I have. So I'm going to continue to ride this wave and go as far as I can. Like I said, these lessons that I learned at Alabama State are priceless, and I'm going to take them wherever. I'm playing professional baseball still, thankfully, and I still have, I'm 23 years old. I turned 24 this month, so I have plenty of time to still jumpstart my career. There's so many things that I want to do, and honestly, we could do another podcast about what my plans are in the future. I have so many goals that I have, just baseball-wise, not even life-wise. So it is what it is. But like I said, that transition was nice for me because we already ran like a professional team at Alabama State. For example, with the Braves, if I was late, they would leave me. There was no, they would leave me and that's it. There's no, we're going to wait for them. No, if we leave at 11:30, we honestly leave at 11:25. And if you're not on the bus, you're late. So it is what it is. And that transition was honestly not that difficult for me.
Coach, when you talk about Ray, you talk about, professional baseball as you know it, and college baseball and guys rising through the ranks. Just talk about just his successes and, what his future holds in your eyes.
Oh, the future is, as you can tell, you're 23 years old, you communicate like Ray, you talk and you're confident and you are looking forward and you're excited about life. You're looking forward to things. The future is just, the sky is the limit for this young man. So once again, his personality and the confidence that he has on everything that he takes on. And that's what people need to understand. Ray, one thing that I can tell you about Ray is that he approaches everybody the same way. He's very respectful. One thing that I always compare it to is Ray feels that he can talk to anybody, no matter let's say Bill Gates or whoever it is, he can just go to you and have a conversation with you. He feels that all humans are, somebody that you can just start a conversation and ask for advice and things like that. I think that's a great quality that he has in his personality. And he was never shy that's what he always got along with other coaches. I remember one time he talked to who is now the commissioner of the conference, Dr. McLennan. One time he's like, say hello. And, a lot of people come to him and Ray, you're a good player. And before you know it, you have to call him and say, hey, we got to go because they're having a full conversation. So that's what he does, with everybody that he comes in contact with. He communicates well. He's very organized. And right now, like he said, he's enjoying playing baseball. And I think he's doing the right thing. You can only play for so long. So whenever you have the chance to do that, you can always coach, but only you have a window that you can play the game. And, physically he's in great shape. I'm hoping that not only he ends up having a great year like he's having right now, but he gets picked up by an affiliated team. Professional baseball, as we all seen, and I'm talking about to make it to the big leagues, is extremely hard. And it's going to continue for the years to come. It's going to continue to get harder. But there's ways to stay in baseball. And that's, I'm a testament of that. I'm doing what I love. I'm coaching at this level. It wasn't easy. I was given an opportunity a long time ago, and I feel that I worked really hard to be in the situation that I'm in right now. But once again, when you have that personality, when you can talk to people, when you're fun to listen to, when you not only have been through it and can identify yourself with this, generation that is coming up, I think the sky's the limit. I'm very proud of him, and it's just fun to, like, you're listening to him. It's always been fun to talk to. He don't let his highs get too high, lows get too low, and I think he's going to continue to shine in everything that he does, not only baseball, but whenever that time comes and he decides to do something else, he has his degree already. If I'm not mistaken, he just got engaged, right?
Yeah, I did.
There you go. Congratulations. So got a great girl that I know, if I'm not mistaken, you met at ASU also, right?
I met her at Alabama State. That's right.
Awesome. Yeah. So, you're talking about ASU being a great place. We talk about that all the time. And I always, listen, I feel that that's the case for a lot of people. ASU is an unbelievable place to be. But sometimes you have to go through the experiences like Ray, can tell you about. Talking about the perfect college career. If you think about it, you come in, you play baseball, you get a great education, you meet the girl that you're marrying, you get drafted, and those are things that you will never forget for the rest of your life. And how important, I know ASU is has a great deal of importance for Ray and his family, and he's very proud of being a Hornet, really a Hornet for life.
That's true.
Hey, Ray, let's do this a couple of 3 months from now. Let's sit down and have a talk about what your future holds outside of baseball.
Right.
Because I know you want to talk about it. We need to have that as a segment of its own, because I don't want to get too heavily into this one and have you talk about all that and go for about an hour. But, guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate you today taking time out, and I appreciate you, as always, what you mean to myself and my family, and what you mean to the Alabama State family, as always. And again, I thank you for taking time out of your day.
Yeah, thank you.
So for Ray Hernandez, Jose Vazquez, this is Travis Jarome saying thank you for listening to Hornet Nation Unfiltered. We'll be back next week with another special guest for episode 11 of the Hornet Nation Unfiltered podcast. Until next time, thank you for listening. You've been listening to Hornet Nation Unfiltered. We'll be back next week with another special guest from Alabama State's past. Until next time.